We got a busy day ahead of us. Come on, let's go. All right, welcome aboard. So it's bright and early, and we're going to head down to Brantford and Hamilton today. We're going to be visiting a few of our client sites, and really today is just to show you guys, what we do on the road. A lot of what we are involved with is done, in the office. We are most of the time we're dealing with our permit projects, putting together permit documents and drawings, dealing with various city departments such as the building department, planning department, engineering, forestry, driveway, whatever. And of course, we're speaking to a lot of clients on the phone and on email. And I would say that takes up the majority of the time. The other time is, we're going on site, right? We probably 1 or 2 times a week, we'll go out, we'll meet homeowners and investors at the properties. We'll go take measurements, take photos, collect all the data for the property, and then we take that back to the office, and then our team works on that. So we want to show you what it's like to be on site and what's involved in that process. All right, we're in Brantford. All right, you can see that there's a lot of big industries and factories here, which is one of the reasons why a lot of investors are in Brantford, myself included. So our first stop, we're going to be meeting Mike and Tammy. This is Tammy. This is our go-to realtor. She's also known as the duplex queen, and pretty soon going to be the garden suite queen as well. Is that right? And again, we're going to be looking at a second suite conversion in the basement. It's already finished, so we're going to try to retain as much of what's existing as possible. We're going to take measurements, take photos, basically do our standard on-site first visit to capture all the data, all the information that we need, take it back to the office, work on a conceptual layout, and then start working on the permit documents, right? And then also on this property, we have a existing detached garage. It's a rather large garage, and we're going to check it out and see if we can convert that to a garden suite. Hey, Mike. Good, how are you? Exciting. This is an awesome place.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, good to see you, man.
Yeah, you as well.
All right, let's go have a look inside this detached garage. Let's see what we can make inside. Hello, hello. Can we open the door, the garage door, to get light in? Yeah, so really the first thing we're looking at is the structure, right? Looking at the slab, ensuring that it's relatively level. There is a slope towards the front, which was by design. So if there's water, it kind of flows off to the front. Checking to make sure that there's no big cracks, because frost is always an issue. So given the size of it, there's probably some sort of a perimeter foundation in here. The walls, the roof structure, we're gonna have to double check to make sure everything's plumb and level. But looking at the roof structure, there's a nice ridge beam on the roof structure there, rafters, so it's open. If we were to convert this to a garden suite, we would have to insulate the vaulted ceiling. We would have to insulate the walls to at least R22. We'll have to insulate the slab of the floor as well.
Why do you have to insulate the slab?
Just because of frost getting underneath, right? So it is going to be cold. Now, having said that, there's nothing that I see here, but it may also be due to the fact that there's heating in here. So that may have helped to prevent any issues from before. But we do need to insulate the insulate the floor in order for this to become a habitable space, right? Because this is not, I mean, there is a furnace in here. Typically there wouldn't be in a garage, but because it is a living space right now, obviously it has to be heated, and the entire envelope of the building needs to be insulated, which means the ceilings, the walls, and then the floor. Now, in a regular house, when you're in the basement, the slab on the bottom does not need to be insulated. That's because it's typically more than 4 feet below grade, which means it's below the frost line. So it's generally speaking the same temperature year round. Whereas on this garage, it's a slab on grade. It is going to be cold, and there is frost that can get underneath the slab, which is why we need to insulate it. The good thing is that this here, again, has the furnace. There's gas coming in, and there's also an electrical panel. I want to see what the size of that panel is, because if it's a 100 amp service, then we're in good shape. Probably not. It's a 30 amp panel. Okay, so we're gonna have to probably increase that unless there's another panel somewhere else. That looks like a pretty substantial gauge wire. I wonder if that can support 60 amps. If this wire can support 60 amps, then we're probably in good shape because we have a gas furnace. You know, we probably would use, you know, a gas stove and a gas dryer to reduce the electrical load in here, right? And then that will allow us to not have to go more than 60. But we'll have to double check with an electrician on whether that wire can support a 60 amp service. The only other thing we don't have in here is plumbing. Right, so we need to ensure that there's plumbing here. We're either going to connect it to the main house or we're going to connect it through this driveway here and do a Y connection to the front lawn. The good thing is, because it's above grade, there is enough gravity, even though it's sloping backwards here, there's enough gravity for us to have this drain to the main house because there's another 4 feet there, okay? So these are things that we're gonna have to verify with with a plumber, but so far, this looks like a good sized garage. It's 625 square feet. We can do, you know, if we wanted to, we can do 2 bedrooms or 1 bedroom plus den or something like that in here. Okay. This could be a nice, like a window kind of thing, or even like a sliding door, like a big sliding door or something.
Yeah, take up most of this. And I was thinking.
Yeah.
Some outdoor space off the kitchen or something.
Yep. All right, guys. So we're going to be doing the measurement in the basement of this existing house. So this is the second unit, and we got the outside measurements, including the garage. So in total, it's going to be 3, but this is the existing lower unit. You can see that's actually already done. So we're going to come inside here and do measurements, just to kind of give you a little quick scope of work on what probably needs to be done in here. We have to ensure that we have adequate fire separation. So we got to double check that this has the proper fire rated drywall. We need to ensure that there's enough windows for natural lighting and egress. Although we do have a main egress door out in the front, there's really large windows in the bedrooms there, so that's really good. This is going to be a pretty easy conversion. So previously I've stated that there are many existing second suites that may not necessarily be 100% legal or may not be registered, but we go in and we identify all the things that need to be done, such as fire separation, spatial requirements, natural lighting, egress, smoke alarms, and all that sort of stuff, to ensure that it does comply. That way we get that registration with the city, and there's not going to be any problems with neighbors or tenants or anything like that if anyone complains. And it's going to, of course, add value to the property as well. Especially when you go back to the bank and refinance, you can let them know that everything is up to standard and it's fully legal. All right. So we're just going to take all the measurements in here, get all the data we need, put that in the floor plan. And then basically we can get proceeding with the permit drawings for the second suite. And then later on, we're going to go upstairs as well. All right, so we're just going to do measurements right now. All right, so we just wrapped up our first stop. Now we're done there, and we're going to make a pit stop on our own property, and where we're already starting with the garden suite. I'm actually just going to swing by and install some security cameras so that we can see the progress of the project as it's being built. You know, a lot of people that get into real estate, they feel like they need to quit their job and, you know, go head first, dive in the deep end with real estate. And I kind of always discourage that, especially when you don't have income. So, you know, this is an example of, you know, somebody having a full-time job. Like I have a full-time business and I'm doing things on my own. And we have a team, although, you know, we're on site today and it just makes sense for me to pop in. It's going to take me a few minutes just to set up these security cameras. So in a lot of cases, you know, if you have a full-time job, you know, you can keep your full-time job, get the income that's needed for investing in projects, and then once in a while, there's little things that you can do in yourself. Maybe you have a small repair kit or a small toolbox in your trunk, and small little repairs, you don't have to call your property manager, you don't have to call a handyman. If you happen to be in the area, it might be a quick fix, right? So these are little things for, you know, a lot of new investors. Okay, so we installed the security cameras really quickly. We'll show you guys around the site. So as you can see, the ground has been dug up here. There's a path that runs from that corner of the house to here. This is basically the hydro line, the electrical line, and here's the gas line, right? So this is going to be the natural gas for the furnace as well as for the stove and the dryer, because we want to minimize the amount of electrical capacity that we're pulling, because we only have 60 amps going into this garden unit. Okay, so we have these units, we have these pipes roughed in, and you can see this has been backfilled. I'll show you where the original meters are. So this is where the existing gas meter is, and here's the rough in, right? So later on, our gas fitter is just going to install another meter off of this meter. So the line that comes in is sufficient for both the existing house and then also for the garden suite as well. And this is where the electrical meters are. So you can see there's 2 meters, one for the upper unit, one for the lower unit, and then there's also an extra one that we provisioned. So this is an empty gang here, and that's going to be for that garden suite. You can see they did the rough in, so they just have to connect these wires later on, okay? So we don't have to worry about digging it up. The good thing about us digging up this portion is that we're gonna create a little bit of a walkway going to the backyard for the upper tenant. One recommendation we have is to install an extra pipe. So this is a 1.5-inch poly pipe. We just picked this up at Home Depot. It was 100 feet. So we cut out about 60 feet, put it in this corner to the edge of the garden suite. The reason, we don't even know what we're gonna use this for. Now, there could be something, maybe there's gonna be phone or television cable or internet or something like that, where we may have to connect some wires. And the purpose of us putting this in is that we have a provision and we can actually fish this through if we ever have to put any wires. So we always recommend putting in an extra pipe in case you need to feed anything through that you're not sure of right now, right? So you can see all this has been backfilled. So this was all done a few days ago. We're gonna backfill this as well. And then later on when we excavate, we're just gonna bring that in and connect that to the side of the house. So there's not gonna be any meters here. All the meters are on the main house. This is just gonna be pipes and wires going directly into the garden unit. Okay, so we're wrapped up right now at our pit stop here in Brantford. I have to make a quick stop at City Hall, Hamilton, and I have to drop off a check for a client. This is for a parkland dedication fee. You would think, post-COVID, they have some systems in place to collect funds, but unfortunately, I can't pay online. I can't do an email transfer. I can't do credit card. I still have to, either myself or my client, have to manually drop off a check or get it couriered. The reason why I'm dropping it off, I happen to be here today. Otherwise, we would either get it couriered or have it mailed. But these are the things that potentially slow down the process, right? Because we talk a lot about the speed of getting permits. There's a lot of complaints about the permit process and getting permits. This is just one example of something that can slow the process down, potentially a week or two, right? Just getting a check, into the city. These are the kind of things that they can improve. Granted, there's been a lot of improvements with a lot of municipalities during COVID, right? When it comes to public services like municipal services, it was very antiquated, before the pandemic, and since then, there's been a lot of things that have really been forced into place. Mission accomplished, dropped off the check, we're good to go. So we're gonna head to our client up in the mountain. We're gonna have to go inside the basement and check the utility connections to make sure that that's gonna be okay for the garden suite, and if not, we're gonna basically check to see what we have to do, right? So plumbing, drains, electrical and gas, basically. All right, so let's go check that out. All right, so we're at the Warren property right now. So this is an existing project that we have with our client. It was an unfinished basement, and pretty much everything had to be redone upstairs. We had some structural work here as well, so we're gonna check on the progress of it. As well, we're planning on putting a garden suite back here, and we're gonna check out the utilities, make sure that that's okay in terms of some of the rough-ins. So let's go inside and have a look. Okay, so we're in the basement. Really, we wanna see how the utilities are gonna be connecting to that garden suite later, so we're just gonna double check some of that. So the first thing is, let's have a look at the electrical panel. So the electrical panel here, I think this is the main service coming in. I believe that's a 200 amp service. We have 60 amps on this unit. There's gonna be 60 amp upstairs. We saw the panel is actually next to the kitchen, and then we're gonna have 60 amps going to the garden suite. Okay, so we're good for electrical. We are gonna be using a regular furnace in the garden suite there. And let's have a look at the water. Where is the water? Yeah, so I think the water meter's in here, but they'll probably have to kind of cut this to access it later. Yeah, looks like the water meter's in here. Okay. Okay, so so far everything looks good. We'll probably have to come back and check it out once everything's complete and figure out ways to kind of connect the utility system to that garden suite. We don't have the survey yet, but we can kind of get started on the design process. I kind of want to get more accurate measurements, which is why I'm doing this. And then once we reconcile this with the actual land survey, we'll be able to get the exact dimensions that are needed. All right, thank you so much for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed our tour of a day in the life of a consultant for Second Suites and Garden Suites. It was a fun day, and we'll see you on the next one. Right now, we're a little bit early. We're gonna go visit our buddies, Charles and Steve and his team. Basically, they're our infill development partners, but we're gonna check out their new office and say hi, maybe have a couple of beers. Yo, what's going on?
This is what we need in our life.
Thank you so much for watching our video. We have a brand new garden suite guide, how to add one to your property. You can download a copy right now for free if you go to www.suiteeditions.com. We cover a ton of stuff you need to know if you want to start building these to create more housing and wealth at the same time. There's also a list of resources that we've identified that you can use. Download your copy now for free at www.suiteeditions.com.